welcome to this aspect of the Guyana Relocation Forum as we bring to you an overview of the Guyana visa and immigration process. My name is Christine Camacho, for some Camacho, which is also okay. And thank you, Marissa. I forgive you for that earlier. And today, in collaboration with MBW Energy Support Services, I'll be sharing with you what the brief overview of what you need to consider when planning your trip to Guyana. So I will share my screen now and move to the presentation. Okay.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Yes. So moving on, the Guyana visa and immigration overview. Some of you might have been affected by the border restrictions presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, and you're probably planning your trip to Guyana, or you're probably here already in Guyana, and you're wondering what's next as it relates to your visa status and how to move forward. Now, I will take this opportunity to share with you briefly the types of visas, the extensions available, the validity, as well as the required documentation and the processing. Now, let's start by establishing that your nationality matters. Why? Because this ultimately determines whether or not you require a visa prior to your arrival in Guyana. So, Guyana has fostered international relations countries countries around the world for which it has granted visa exemption. So some of those countries are United States, Canada, Norway, France, United Kingdom, and the list goes on. So if your nationality is one of those listed, then you do not require a visa to travel to Guyana in advance. So if you're not listed on that list, then of course you need to plan your trip way ahead, probably at least 8 weeks in advance, so that you can obtain the necessary approval prior to your arrival. Some of those countries you'll not find on that list would be China, Singapore, India, Nigeria, and so on. So those persons who are visa required, you will need 8 weeks will cater for 1 month processing, as well as the documentation, the preparation, as well as any unanticipated delays that you might encounter prior to your arrival. Now, I'll introduce to you the visa types, and under the Immigration Act of the Laws of Guyana, Chapter 1402, Section 12, Subsection 1, which identifies the classes of visa typically available so that when you arrive in Guyana, you'll be landed under the correct status. Now, I'll elaborate more on the visitor visa as well as the employment and trade or business visa, as these are the most frequently requested visas. And persons are usually wondering, how do I come to Guyana to work? What do I need? And if you're visiting, it's the same. So for a visitor visa, if you're a visa required national, then as I mentioned before, you need to apply for your visitor's visa in advance. This will allow you to travel to Guyana for the purpose of tourism. You can visit for an event or a meeting, a conference, a forum. And so you'll be allowed from 30 to 90 days. Initially, 30 days, you'll be granted on arrival, and this is under Section 12, 1C, as it is identified here. And so for if you are not a visa required national, then of course you can pretty much book your ticket and come to Guyana, and you don't have to worry whether or not you'll be rejected. So you'll be allowed at 30 to 90 days. So moving on to the employment visa, for those of you who are wondering how do I get this, first of all, you need to secure an employment opportunity or a job offer. So typically persons would like to apply for an employment visa without a job offer, and this is not necessarily the way. So once you have a job offer and you can demonstrate that you'll be relocating or so to Guyana, then you can apply for this. If you're a visa exempted national, in order for you to have an employment status in the country, then you need to apply for a landing permission for employment status. This will allow you to work in country. And so for those who are visa required, you can apply for the employment visa, which will allow you a duration of 3 years in and out of the country. So it's basically the employment visa does not allow you to stay in country and work. It allows you to enter and exit over a duration of time. As you can see the stamp on your right side, it shows 12(1)(d) for 3 months, which corresponds with section 12, subsection D, and that means for employment. The visa stamp, sorry, the entry stamp below shows 12(1)(e) for 1 month, which corresponds to business travel. So this person would have come to Guyana, perhaps explore, sought opportunities, and they probably got a job, and they would have had to exit the country, apply for the employment visa or the landing permission, and return under the correct section, which is the stamp above. Now, for the trade or business, this is usually granted to someone who is going to invest in Guyana. Perhaps you're planning to open a company here and you're going to be doing trade. So you can apply for a business visa and you'll be given this visa approval for 5 years. Now, if you're a visa exempted national, you'll need to apply for a business visa, a landing permission for a business status, sorry. And if you're visa required, that's when you apply for the business visa. So there's a difference as I started by establishing the nationalities. So there is the landing permission for non-visa nationals, and there is the actual visa approval for the visa required nationals. Just to say that under Section F, one of the other purpose might be for studies. So if you're intending to come to Guyana, you will be studying or you're relocating with your family members and you will be attending school, then you can apply for a student visa. Moving to the extensions of stay. These are the various classes. They're respective to the various classes. So for the visitor's visa, you have the visitor's extension of stay. As I mentioned before, you will be given 30 days initially, and you can extend up to 2 times for 30 days each, giving you a total of 90 days. For the business extension of stay, you can, once you have gotten your business visa, then you can, and you're in country, you can go ahead and apply for the business extension of stay. The difference is that the business visa allows you to enter and exit, and the extension of stay allows you to stay continuously for the duration of time granted. Similarly, for the extension of stay and for the work permit or the employment extension of stay. A lot of persons would normally ask for, how do I get a work permit to come to Guyana? Now, the work permit is not a standalone process. It depends on whether or not you have an employment visa or a landing permission. So providing that you have that approval and you would have entered Guyana under that status, then it means you can use that entry stamp and apply for the work permit. On the screen as well is a stamp. I will just move myself aside. There is this stamp, an example of a work permit stamp. So in order for you to have this stamp, you must be registered with our national insurance as well as the Guyana Revenue Authority so that you can obtain the necessary compliance certificates before you can actually receive the work permit stamp. Now, it's important to be able to register for the the tax identification number, as this allows you to open a bank account. It allows you to apply for a driver's license, to rent an apartment, and so on. It makes life easy typically, and this will make you compliant so you can be a responsible traveler and be compliant with the Immigration Act of the laws of Guyana. Now, the basic requirements for the various classes of visa, there are certain specific requirements. However, these are a few generic requirements. And so there is the visa application form, which of course you would need to fill, as well as provide a passport photo and a biodata page, a police clearance, and a certificate of fitness. So, for instance, other documents would be requested, for instance, for employment, perhaps your contract of employment, as well as in the case of a visitor, your birth certificate, and so on. So feel free to contact us and we can make an assessment of whatever your specific scenario is. And we can be able to guide you through the full process relative to your case. So we conduct that assessment. We let you know what are the required documentation, and you can scan that to us because we will manually submit that to the immigration authority for processing, and we will follow up on your visa status and send you the approval by email, which you will then need to present to the immigration officer upon your arrival so that you are granted the appropriate stamp. It is important to present this approval when you arrive, even if the immigration officer does not ask for it, because they will ask you questions relating to why are you coming to Guyana, for how long you're coming to Guyana, and they will determine under which status they will land you. So if you present this approval before you arrive, when you arrive, then they will stamp you accordingly to what approval you have. And then we will liaise with you to ensure that you receive the complete process. So if you're going to come, if you receive a 30-day visitor's visa and you're required to stay for another 30 days, then you can have an extension, as well as when you come to Guyana under employment visa, then we can continue the process for applying for your tax compliance and your work permit as well. Now you can contact me at christine.camash@camsolgy.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can call me on 650-5979 with country code 592. You can also contact MBW Energy Support so that we can plan your assessment and we'll be able to take you through the entire process. And so you can be able to initiate this aspect of your travel. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you MBW for hosting this event to provide this essential information to a lot of persons who might be wondering what's next. So thank you again, and take care, be safe, especially during this COVID time when there are a lot of changes and protocols, and as Stacy mentioned, so regarding the immigration process, sometimes you can have changes, and it's important to keep in touch with your immigration agent in Guyana so that you can have the latest updates. So thank you and take care. Bye.
Thank you, Christine. That certainly is a very complex topic. So definitely, if you have more or you're still uncertain about the process in obtaining visas to enter Guyana, do contact her. She just shared her information with you, contact details. I have a question from Gerald Alfred. He's asking, he said he has a CARICOM skill certificate. He wants to know if he needs to show proof of pending employment, even though he has this CARICOM skill certificate.
Okay, so for those persons, if you're having that certificate, then once you apply in country, that's the CSME certificate, you will still need to take that to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to have it validated. And this is because the employment contract, for instance, is applicable for someone who will be applying for an employment visa. So if you have a CSME certificate, by rights, you're allowed to explore employment opportunities in Guyana. So when you arrive, we would need to take your CSME certificate to be validated with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more question from Alistair Sunaram. He's asking if you can please clarify whether business visas may allow multi-entry based on the duration approved by the immigration officers at the port of entry.
Okay, so for the business visa, you, if you're a visa required national, you would be given a visa stamp for business, the actual visa. Now, this visa would be valid for 5 years. So each time you enter Guyana, you would be given 30 to 90 days, depending on what your travel is for that trip. However, you cannot stay for the 5 years. So once you have that 5 years visa, you need to apply for an extension of stay, which will allow you to stay for business reason over the duration of 2 years. So the visa is for entry and exit for the time that the immigration officer gives you upon arrival. But once you have the business visa extension of stay, then you can definitely stay in country.
Okay, and I'll take this as the final question. For other questions, you can contact Christine directly because this is a very complex topic and you need to understand the laws of Guyana in detail. Harold is asking if an immigrant who's already in Guyana and has overstayed by lack of knowledge about the visa rules, how can he be helped to apply for a longer term?
That will depend on what status you're here. So if you're here in Guyana on a visitor's status, and let's say you got 30 days and you stay for 100 days, while you're in country, you can apply for that extension of stay so that you'll be allowed to clear yourself of the overstay so that you can exit and you can return next time without having any difficulty. So once you have overstayed in Guyana, you can approach the Department of Citizenship to regularize your status so that you can exit and return next time.
Okay, thank